Time now for our rants and raves, starting with you, Dan.
I have a rave for the Boston Globe, which this week ran a feature called A Transition Like No Other. And it was moving in exactly the direction that the Globe has said they want to move in. It worked much better online than it did in print, so, there's an incentive to go to the website. And it was this really terrific interactive graphic.
It was like every day. It was 70 days.
Every day since Trump was elected, and they would have the headline for the day, basically the big news for the day, a link to a story, and in most cases, a related Trump tweet. And
a graphic. All very clever.
By the way, those graphics were in large part done by our former colleague, Brendan Lynch.
Extremely talented.
Getting a chance to show his work
Brendan
at the Globe,
is
which is cool.
Brendan's wonderful.
Talented.
We miss him, but it's nice to be able to see him in the Globe.
Yeah, I loved it, too. And I thought it worked in the hard copy, too.
It did okay, but the nice thing about online is how do you monetize your archives?
Yeah.
And here you keep your archives live by giving people a reason to look
Go
at
back.
it again,
Yes.
click, and go back.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it was good.
And people will be doing that.
Yep.
Callie.
So I have a rave for this study that was done by the Engaging News Project at the University of Texas and something called the Coral Project. I don't know them. They surveyed U.S. news organizations, print, broadcast, digital only, got 12,000 responses, so not a small response, and asked people, readers, viewers, whatever, how do you feel about commenters and what would you want? And what they wanted was actually the people who write the stories to come back and give them some factual information in response to some of the comments.
In response to the comments.
Right.
Yeah.
And also,
Some people do that.
and maybe sometimes an expert.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about this. Often what happens when somebody's just ranting about, first of all, I didn't say it, or you misinterpret it, it is helpful to go back and say, okay, now here's what actually was said, and then have them go, oh, all right. So I can see that working. I thought this was interesting that this came from the readers that would like to have more information, actually, based on something they read and may be confusing to them or whatever.
I don't know. The comments are just gone out of...
I know. Well, it's another story about who are writing the comments, but I thought this was encouraging.
The Coral Project is aimed at using technology to improve the quality of comments. And they haven't gotten too far down the road, but hopefully they'll have some success.
All right, Jennifer.
Well, I actually have a rant and a rave that are related. I am ranting about Fox News contributor Richard Fowler, who was speaking about Oscar Lopez Rivera, who was a Puerto Rican terrorist whose sentence was commuted by President Obama last week, and he referred to him as a Nelson Mandela-like figure. Now, this man is a terrorist. He was part of the
FALN.
Yes, Puerto Rican Liberation Army that has as its sworn enemy the government of the United States of America, responsible for numerous bombings and deaths. And interestingly, President Clinton had offered him clemency, and he turned it down because he would have had to renounce violence. This clemency came with no such
What's your second part?
Oh, my second part, Charles Lane of the Washington Post basically called out the president on this and said this was not a good pardon.
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know. I couldn't get too hopped up about it one way or the other. But.
Some people feel very differently, including
I get very hopped up about terrorism.
Lin-Manuel Miranda came out and said if he comes to Chicago, he'd go back to play Hamilton because it was very important.
Lin-Manuel needs to research this a little further.
All right,
I'm
Adam.
Puerto Rican, too. So.
Adam.
I got a rave for a piece that GQ ran. It is an oral history of playing pickup basketball with President Obama, former President Obama. If you enjoy watching basketball, if you enjoy playing it, even playing it badly, as I do when I try to play it, it's a terrific read. That photo illustration, they call him his health careness as opposed to his airness, little wordplay there. But the piece is fascinating. It's packed with anecdotes from NBA players like Chris Paul, Reggie Love, Obama's body man who played basketball at Duke, Roy Williams, the coach of North Carolina. And it offers this really fascinating insight into the way he played the game and the way that really matches up closely with how he governed the country. Terrific read.
All right, I have a rant tonight. This is a bit of a stretch, but it really stuck in my craw. That is CNN reminding its staff that they can't participate in political events. In other words, don't march in tomorrow's parade. Now, if this had been an NRA rally or an alt-right rally or any number of the things, they wouldn't have felt compelled to do that. It's almost as if they have to remind their women that, you as the women have to remind that you have two places here, but you're a journalist first. I found it insulting. I really did. It just took me back because they wouldn't have done that in another circumstance, and it's insulting.
Well, I might say that maybe the NRA wouldn't have such a big rally, but that may be why they wouldn't say that.
Or they would know that they would know that no one from CNN was going to participate in that.
I take your point, but
devil's advocate, I'm kind of with Jennifer. I mean, the chances of, and this will get us into a whole big discussion, but the chances of a journalist going to the march are probably greater than them going to an NRA rally.
I know, but it's also directed at women too. Like you're not dumb, you're not smart enough to remember that you can't do this.
It's happened
It
before.
bothered me.
she's saying they narrowly gender focus on it.